Soul. This is Pebbles, the Playful Soul, and you can see that Aphiwe Mame is joining me today. Today is a very special live stream, right? For a couple of reasons. Firstly, in case you've never seen what Playful Soulmates is about, I'm basically celebrating 20 years of my album, Playful Soul, and I'm speaking to people who were instrumental in the album coming to life and people who have supported it over the years. And that's why it's very special that Aphiwe is joining me, because we'll get into it just now. But before we do, I need you to please subscribe to my channel, because if you subscribe, then it's just going to make all the subsequent streams and things that we do really cool. Okay. The second reason why today's live stream is so freaking cool is that I am manning the things. Okay. So if you see like a little bit of a fumble, please forgive me, because I'm not used to being like a tech person, you know? Anyway, Aphiwe, thank you for being here today, my darling. I really appreciate you. And thank you for being a super fan. So I would like for you to just like tell the people who you are, what it is you do, and why I have asked you to join us. Because I kind of saw something that you posted somewhere on X or somewhere. So yeah, I'm gonna like let you do your thing, doll. Is that okay?
Cool. Thank you so much, Pebs. So awesome to be a part of this journey. I mean, I've been listening to the music for quite a bit. So how I come into the greater scheme of things. Before I get into that, actually, I was asked to introduce myself. Look at me getting ahead of myself. So I am Aphiwe Mame. I am a comms specialist. I'm also a media practitioner, and also I do a bit of cultural writing. So I focus on a lot of cultural moments within the entertainment industry in South Africa. I am from a little town called Makhanda, also known as Grahamstown, which is part of the story somewhere. So yeah, how I came about connecting with Pebs is that I was reminiscing about Playful Soul, and I did a thread of her music, including her sophomore album as well, of course. But for the most part, a lot of the music from Playful Soul really resonated with a lot of people on Twitter. And I still call it Twitter, by the way. I'm just being a millennial. A lot of people resonated with the music, and a lot of stories came out of that. And people were just posting about how, it was their first time listening, to very like alternative music that was not on the scene at the time. A lot of people were citing, your YFMs, just remembering the days of growing up in Joburg, and that kind of nostalgia. So yeah, that's how I come into the picture. And fast forward, after tweeting that post, someone posts that, she'll be performing in Cape Town. I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm based in Cape Town, so let me go and check her out. And then I went to the performance, which was super. And then I introduced myself to her, and lo and behold, she saw the tweet or she knew about the tweet. And yeah,
do you know that so many people forwarded that tweet to me? And obviously because of the nature of Twitter, it takes on a life of its own. But I've had people even last week sending me that tweet. They're like, have you seen this? And I'm like, actually, yes, I have. I even met with the chick that started the thread. So it's so cool. I never knew that I would meet you, for example, somebody who has liked my music over the years. I love the fact that at that gig that you came to, which was at Selective Live, that you came up to me and you were like, hey, and you told me this whole story. You were so excited. And I was like, oh, wow, this is nuts. Because in my mind, the album came out so long ago that I don't think that there are people that still appreciate it, or that, that are still listening to it today and have something to say about it. And I think it's through people like yourself that I was given the gumption, if you like, to do this kind of thing and to celebrate the album 20 years after the fact. So I thank you. Yeah, we are going to have another guest joining us just now because, there are so many super fans. We obviously couldn't have all of them on. But you mentioned that you're a cultural writer, right?
Yeah.
What does that mean? And what would you say the music landscape was like back in 2005?
Sure. So part of cultural writing is really capturing and archiving, significant moments within the entertainment industry. I focus specifically on music and television. So I started out with television, and then because I love music, I studied music at school. So it was natural for me to sort of finally write about music. And I was kind of hesitant because for me, writing about music gets very technical because I want to talk about the rhythm section. I want to break about the composition, the vocal layering, and the mixing. So I was like, it might be a bit of work. So let me just do television. So then I ended up, trying, sort of testing myself out, and I was like, let me just write about music and see where it goes. I started out with threads, and then I ended up, doing fully writing about albums from back in the 2000s. Now, your second part of the question is about how the music landscape looked like around that time. So I think it was very innovative. I mean, at the time, we seeing like this emerging new sound of, jazz. We're seeing, again, you coming into the picture with neo soul. I refuse to call it Afropop because it's not Afropop. I feel like it's mislabeled.
It's not Afropop. Thank you. Thank you.
It's not Afropop. There was a debate on Twitter. I said, let's not call it Afropop because it's not. But yeah, so the early 2000s, we saw a lot of sort of innovative music, and also people were playing around and experimenting a lot. I think that's what we lack almost with the contemporary sound of today. I think I miss the times where people were so experimental, where they would mix genres, borrow from different genres. Earlier on, I was listening to Optical Illusion, the hip hop band, which actually they released their debut album in 2005 as well. The one that went mainstream, because the other ones, obviously, from Hype magazine and the singles that.
So that you know that they were in the same label, obviously, because I mean, you always do your research and stuff. But
I do.
You're right. It was a very experimental time. Sorry to interrupt you, but it was a very experimental time, and I feel like nowadays the music all sounds samey. It's like people are scared to experiment. They're like, oh, okay, I heard that thing. That thing seems to be doing really well. I'm just going to copy it. And I'm just going to have this doof, 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 like you're doing my head in, like you're just like knocking on my head. And it all sounds the same to me. And I'm like, I don't know if I'm being biased because I've got a particular music style that I like. And maybe it's an age thing. I don't know. But I think good music stands the test of time. Would you agree?
It does. It does. And I think we've seen quite a lot of those projects come up, and I mean, even projects that didn't even go mainstream, we still talk about those projects. And I think when I think even about hip hop in the late 90s and in the 2000s, the hip hop fraternity played a lot with sound, and I think those songs have stood the test of time because we're still listening to them to this day. And I think also the borrowing again from different genres gave it that unique DNA that made it survive all these years. So I definitely agree.
Absolutely. From that era of Playful Soul, which other artists were you listening to? I know there's one, I know that Zama Jobe is one of them because we spoke about it when we met that first day. Yes. And can I tell you, that day that we first met, I felt like I'd known you my whole life. We just, we went on and on and on and on and on. And it was like, it was just so cool. It's like I found a friend I didn't know that I had. And you're so knowledgeable about the culture and about music and about so many different things. It's like,
encyclopedia.
you really are.
Yeah, so I think from that era.
Jobe was one of them. And I really would have liked to play one of her songs. But what I'm going to rather do is, if there are music influences mentioned during the course of this chat, then I'm just going to put them in a playlist that people can go to afterwards. It'll be a Playful Soul playlist that people can go and listen to the songs of the people that we talk about today. because like I said, I am manning the stage and stuff. So I don't want to like end the live stream accidentally. Do you know what I mean? So Zama Jobe was one. Are there any particular songs of hers that you loved?
Yes, so Taxi Ride, Magic, obviously, which was like the biggest one. Ndawo Yami, the second single, of course. I think I'm forgetting the other one. It's very acoustic. It's guitar led. I'm forgetting. It's a beautiful love song. I love love songs, so that's my little world there. So yeah, I'm just forgetting the name of that song. But yeah, I think that whole album, in fact, was brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was great. There were a lot of really cool artists around that time. And I mean, we had Adzama Jobes, there was a whole like house thing that was happening around the same time. Do you remember WhatsApp Pussycats? I don't know why I'm thinking about that now. I think I was having a chat with somebody earlier. But there was that, oh, musica. Ah, remember that song? I'm going on, sorry. I just went off on a tangent there for a moment.
But it was brilliant.
But I do want to find out sorry?
I'm saying it was brilliant. It was a brilliant time for house music, because I think also we saw for the first time also experimentation of vocally led house music, and that was not something that we were used to at the time. So we also saw the transference of your Unatingais coming into the spin of house music. So yeah, it was quite a brilliant, interesting time even for house music.
Yeah, I mean, vocalists, I feel, I was chatting to Zabs last week, the last letter, and one of the things that I said was that I feel that us hook chicks, as we were known, us chicks that used to sing on the hip hop songs, we made the hip hop more accessible to a wider audience. And I think you're right when you say like the Unating guys who went into the house realm and even won a Sama for the song that she did with Lisa Zola 7. Like, I think that is testament to the fact that when this feminine energy came onto these very testosterone-led songs and genres, it just made them nicer and more easy to listen to. That's just my take. I don't know.
I love that take. I love that take, because I do think that the hooks played a very important role in bridging audiences. I don't think I would have been listening to, and in fact, back then, so my older brother was part of a hip hop collective, and I just felt like it was a lot of noise. I was just like, no. But I think with having the hooks on some of the music, you were just like, oh, hold on, I love that. And I think even with music from the United States, I mean, without your Faith Evans, your Nevaehs, your Coco from SWV, like Sisters with Voice, so it is SWV. I always mess up that acronym. I don't think I would have been listening to a lot of some of those hip hop singles that were coming out at the time.
Yeah. No, I get you. I do want to add our other guest. I'm just not sure if they're out of the green room yet. But I am going to add another super fan. His name is Feisal Day. Feisal.
Yes, hello, good evening, everyone.
Can you hear and see us, my love?
I can hear you, I can feel you, and I can
Hey, Feisal Day.
Aphiwe Mame. Welcome to
Hi,
my
So Feisal, meet Aphiwe. Feisal is a long-time friend of mine. I'm going to let him tell you how we first met back in that Playful Soul era. But I'm sure at some point we'll all just be like conversing about our different musical journeys, music tastes, and I'll be asking a few odd questions here and there as well. But Feisal, please. Ago.
There's been a bit of a glitch.
We had a bit of a
Say
glitch
again?
there.
There was a glitch.
Oh,
I have
sorry.
to
Did
share
you
how
not hear me?
Sorry, I have to tell the audience how we met. All right. Am I audible and visible?
You are visible, you are audible.
That's beautiful. Well, I was commissioned to do Pebble's makeup. I was living in West Dean, and it was for a cover. I think, was it True Love?
No,
Drum.
it wasn't a cover, but it was for Elle magazine.
Oh, it was for Elle.
I was
magazine.
yes.
I had
I
no
was freaking
clue.
out that I was like, I don't have anybody to do my makeup and so Zeno drove me to your place in West Dean, and I had never in my life met a person like Faisal. Like, understand that I had come, okay, I used to live in the UK, but I was coming from the Eastern Cape, up here. So I was coming from just down the road from Grahamstown in PE. And I've come to Joburg, like very much, Jane comes to Joburg, very like, and I
Green.
meet this person
Went
who
behind
is
there's
a
not quite a left.
whole, pardon?
You were green, but not
Okay,
a lettuce.
so I was not a lettuce, no. But like Faisal was larger than life. And I had never in my life met a person so like big in his personality and just so warm and friendly and crazy. And I was just like, whoa, okay, is this what Joburg people are like? But sorry, I interjected. Please continue, Faisal.
So you actually mildly intimidated, and I was larger than life. I think that was rather toned down. I had no clue who you were. I had no clue who Pebbles was. And then she landed in my hands. She did not used to wear makeup. Am I correct? Or it was whatever you used to wear was very, very, how shall I say?
I didn't wear makeup at all then.
Oh, right. You said you came from the Eastern Cape, you know? Yeah.
Doesn't mean they don't have makeup in the Eastern Cape.
Well, then I had to apply the makeup. Of course, she was rather freaked out because I had layered it on. And according to her, she could have removed it with a
Yeah, I was like, this is a lot. I feel like I could take a spatula and like thingy it off. But yeah, no, it was my first experience of Faisal. Had you listened to the music then, though, Faiz?
Yours, I would assume, yes. Well, I had no
Yes.
clue who you were. So I have listened to you, and I've been to concerts. We've hung out, and quite frankly, I hadn't listened to the music. However, you are a beautiful vocalist,
No,
and it's an honor to be in my life.
Can you remember what music you were listening to back in 2005?
Oh, there was a lot going on. I'm still old school. Do you recall? I've been schooled in R&B, soul, funk. What was I listening to back then? It's a bit difficult, but there was an eclectic mix. It was probably Erykah Badu, Jamiroquai, Madonna.
Of course.
Sade.
Ever. We'll be listening to her forever and a day. And don't you love how she doesn't age? Like, she does not age. Can I tell you a funny story about Sade? Okay, so I am in London coming back from school with my mates, and we're like, just walking along on our way back home from school, and I spot this woman across the road who I am convinced is Sade. True as God, it's her. So I run over and I'm like, hey, can I please get your autograph? Do you know what she did? She told me, sorry, I'm walking my dogs. Yo, was my heart not broken? I vowed never to buy one of her CDs again. I don't think it affected her career, but that's
I,
my Sade story. I still love her to bits and pieces, but I will never buy her album or her music. I will appreciate it and I will listen to it. I will never buy it.
Alex, you can stream it. I actually had a similar experience with her in a club in Jungle. No, a club in Berlin called Jungle. I was there with some friends of mine, an American photographer, Catherine Dumas, and this super amazing, I shall say, transsexual, or back then, what were they called? She was amazing. Her name was Sugar Moon. So we spotted Sade in this club called Jungle in Berlin. And Sugar Moon then dares me to go up to her and ask her how she's doing. And there I go. She's walking up the stairs and I'm behind her. And then we finally meet as we approach the floor. And I'm like, "Hi, Sade. How's it hanging?" Oh, my Lord, did she look aghast? And she turns around and asks me like, "Well, what do you mean, what's hanging?" In other words, I was trying to ask, how are you doing? This was just a dare. Well, of course, I didn't exactly walk away with my tail between my legs. I was a bit miffed. I mean, you're speaking to the queen of whatever you call it. What's the genre of music? Soul. I just let it be, and I went to sleep, and I felt like kicking her ass. That was my experience with Sade.
Your Sade story. Do you have a Sade story, Aphiwe?
I don't.
That's surprising for me because, okay, of the many things that Aphiwe does, right? She is a cultural writer. She has worked in TV. She has worked in radio. Do you know that she even worked for the BBC at one point? But like when we were chatting for the first time, like the day that we met, when I felt like I'd known her my whole life, she was like, "Yeah, no. And I spent 5 minutes working in da-da-da-da." I was like, and then she's like, "And then I spent 5 minutes working at da-da-da-da." And then spent another 5 minutes. And I'm just like, is there any job in the media space that you haven't worked in? I mean, you were at Vuzu at one point. You, like you say, you studied music at UCT, where you met some. You were studying with some really cool people. Tell the people who you were studying with. Drop a name or two.
So I was around the time of Zori Mutija, Langamavuso, and Ndumiso Manana. But I wasn't in the music faculty, though. I was doing humanities.
Okay. And what was that experience like?
It was brilliant. I think also, encountering young people who were pursuing music. I think, obviously, as I mentioned to you, my dad was very like, "You need to do a serious thing. So this music thing that you're telling me about not happening." So I think for the better part of my singing career, as it were, it was mostly choral. Singing. I sang a lot in, choirs, chamber choirs, professional choirs.
Yeah.
I did, corporate gigs and backup gigs. And I think being around young people who were pursuing music, and I mean, Zoe at the time was heavily influenced by jazz, your Nina Simone's, your Ella Fitzgerald. So I think also hearing someone who sounds like people that I've only heard on like vinyls and cassettes and CDs was just so ever so brilliant. And I think, that was such an inspiring moment for me also to just be a little bit more confident, with my singing, but also more than anything, appreciate just the making of music. Because I think when you spend a lot of time around musicians, and I think also as a chorister, going through music sheets and spending hours and hours studying music and compositions, you gain a much more organic appreciation and a much more intimate appreciation for music. So I think that period really defined how I related with music and how I consumed music. Definitely.
Oh, nice. And I mean, I would have loved to study music. I mean, it's not too late for me to do so. I'm only 49, so there's still time. But do you find that when you listen to music, you listen with a more critical ear than most people?
I try not to, but I do sometimes tend to get a little bit technical. And I think it's mostly for me, not even the singing per se. I focus a lot on the instrumentation of the song. Because I generally listen to people who have good voices. So it's only the few times where I'm just like, I'm not sure about the vocals. And I mean, there's a lot of that happening in the music these days. So
yeah, let's not go too deep into that. I'm gonna bring it back. I'm gonna bring it back because I could talk about that the whole night, and I don't want to go there. But what I do want to do is bring it back to Playful Soul for a bit.
Yeah.
Is there a specific song on Playful Soul that stood out for you? That was just like, whenever you hear the song, whenever you heard that song, it would take you somewhere, and it meant something to you.
Yeah. So there are two songs. And it's always difficult for me to choose between the two. So the first song that I heard was She Is, but the song that I ended up loving most is Love Is. I love the R&B DNA in that song. And I mean, of course, the bass, it's brilliant bass line. I think Love Is, for me, as I said to you earlier on, I love a good R&B ballad. So I do think, yes, of course, it's very funk and neo soul leaning, but I think just the structure of the vocal layering is very R&B, and I love songs. So for me, that song will just always it just gets me. Like it just gets
me. Yeah. Can I tell you, I can remember actually writing that song. I was doing the dishes. I'm living in Joburg somewhere. I was living in Ilovo, and I've got this song that I know I need to write. So I've received this instrumental or this beat from, I think it was Nyams, and I'm listening to it over and over and over again, and I'm washing the dishes, and then the song started coming. True visions of you connected to me. It's just like, this is a good one. When you're writing a song and you can just feel that it's like, okay, I don't know if you write, Feisal. In fact, I know that you don't write. You write, but not in that sense. I know that you write.
I'm a wordsmith.
But when you write your poetry or Aphiwe, when you're writing your pieces for either the research that you put on your LinkedIn and stuff, do you know when you're just like, okay, with this one, I'm gonna be hooking them in, and they're gonna see what an amazing wordsmith I am?
You're real. The lyrics arrive. No, wait. The lyrics arrive. The word sublime. Do you understand what I'm saying? That flow, and it will make sense if there is a flow of words connect. Move.
But my question was that, do you know when you've written a masterpiece? Okay, I am saying that Love Is a masterpiece.
A masterpiece.
I'm not being arrogant. I'm just saying it's a song that resonated with a lot of people. And like Aphiwe was saying, it's one of the songs that sticks out for her because she loves a good ballad, she loves a good love song, and she feels that the way that it was written was great. And like, I'm asking of both of you. So, okay, let me start with Aphiwe, because Feisal, you're answering something else now. Aphiwe, do you know when you've written something that people are going to want to listen to or going to want to read?
I do. I think, and I used to, even when I was back in varsity, I would know, because I consider myself to be an essayist before a writer. So I used to know that all my essays, in fact, all of my essays, I knew that this is, even for me, I'm like, oh, did I come up with this? This is crazy. So I usually know. I'm currently writing, I've just finished 2 pieces on Shaka Ilembe, and I think when I finished the second one, I was just like, yeah, this is going to be brilliant. I can't wait to see how people are going to receive it. And I think for me, it's also just, I think being able to tell the story through words and being able to allow the words to also evoke the emotion and place almost to the reader where your emotions were when you're writing. And for me, music also drives a lot of my writing. I can't write when it's quiet. So I rely a lot on music to drive the emotion in my writing. And I mean, sometimes I write about quite serious things. But even then, I'll listen to like your Simpiwe Danas, I'll listen to your Jimmy Lulu's, your Judith Zipumas, just to sort of, I suppose, ground me within the words. So I definitely know when the first piece that I wrote on City Sisla, I knew, like, I just knew that, because that was the first piece, in fact, that got a lot of, that went viral and got a lot of like attention. And for me, it told me that, oh, okay, maybe I am a writer, even though I didn't consider myself to be one, but it told me that I was. So definitely.
Yeah. I find it interesting that you say you write listening to music, that it grounds you. There is something about music, depending on what song you're listening to, can really either help you focus or get into a zone, or like, I know that I'm probably not alone in this. I'm sure there are a lot of people that do this. But when I want to cry, I know that there's a Nina Simone album that I'm going to play, and the tears are going to flow. And once I've gotten them out of my system, then I'm like, whew, okay, that was good. But then I can also schedule a meltdown for another time, just by knowing that when I play that album, or when I'm like newly in love and there's a playlist for, But anyway, Feisal, I have a question for you. Is there a song or a lyric of mine that has stuck to you like glitter? Because I know you love glitter, and I love glitter and sequins and all of those shiny, sparkly things.
Love is a verb.
Okay, so that was the show that I did. That I did. Okay, sorry, my brain is going whoo, whoo, whoo. Love is a verb. Why love is a verb?
It's what we feel.
Why does the term love is a verb stick out for you? What is it about it?
It's just beautiful. It's beautiful. It makes one feel a lot of things.
That love is a doing word, because a lot of people use it in the context of
doing word. It's a doing word.
Yeah.
And that can love, like myself.
Yeah. Speaking of love, do you remember that song? So Feisal, as I said, is a wordsmith, right? And he will just write these, he'll just randomly send me a WhatsApp of a lyric or something. He'll be like, this is your next song, right? So the one day he was like, you need to migrate into love. And I was like, okay, wherever am I going to use this? When am I ever going to use this? Okay, fine. Then I moved to Cape Town, and I'm walking along the promenade, and the sun is shining, the sky is blue, the clouds are there, and I start singing, like just writing this song. Marshmallow clouds in a clear blue sky as the wave crash on into the sea. But basically, the song is called Migrate into Love. And I messaged him. I was like, Feisal, I've written the song. Do you want to hear it now? He's like, no, wait until it's finished. I'll hear it when it's finished. And I was like, because when you just want to share, like immediately.
You know what I do like?
You burst my bubble.
That really sticks out. One of your songs, that line, you are phenomenal. I love that.
Yeah. That's a good one. Yeah, that's a good one. So that's obviously from my second album, Phenomenal. But yeah, I love performing that song because it becomes so interactive. So I'll be like, I think you are phenomenal. And then you'll sing back, I think you are phenomenal. But it's a great song. I mean, it celebrates women, but it celebrates humankind as well. So it's just like, I think it's a really beautiful song. That was co-written with Zubs. actually, and featured Notende. Okay, there's something technical going on, so my apologies if that's happening. Say that again, Aphiwe.
Oh, you were glitching for a minute there. I was just gonna ask the question back to
technology. The question back to me.
yes, a lyric that stuck out throughout your years of writing and singing.
Oh, snap. Now you've put me on the spot. I'm trying to think of the songs that I've written. Do you know what? The whole song, actually, because now I've been thinking my music. One of the songs that is sticking out for me is Dysfunctional, because it is truly an explanation of who I am. I don't fit into a box. I don't do things in the same way that other people do them. So Dysfunctional is my middle name. Adversity still ups my game. And those to you, it's all the same. A rose by any other, just not my name. So, like, yeah. And it's just, yeah, I think if I were to sing that song, the whole thing for me is one of my favorite lyrics. Yeah. But let us move on a moment. The instrumentation. Battle Cat, can I tell you? Oh, my soul. You say you were listening to Optical Illusion earlier, right?
Yeah.
Like mad scientist. Like when I say mad scientist, he would just be doing his thing and he would not have slept and he'd be... And then you hear this thing and you're like, what is this? This is so freaking cool. How am I going to do something on this? Or in fact, for Dysfunctional, I came to him with the song sounding like a show tune. So it was like, I flipped the script and laid it down. And it sounded like a show tune in my head. And then he did that he did with it. And it was like it's, yeah, he's incredible.
The outro of that song reminds me a lot of D'Angelo's third album. I forget the name, Vanguard. It's so funky. It's like I always just lose my mind. It's just brilliant. It really reminds me of like that D'Angelo funky element. Brilliant.
Yeah. I'm gonna time travel again, but thank you for that. Oh wow, that's quite a compliment to say that. I'm like processing, but also wanting to move on. It's nuts. To go into a time capsule for a bit. So Feisal, you are a stylist. You work with clothes. You have an appreciation for what looks good on people. And I wanted to ask you, what were you wearing back in 2005? What do you think of the fashion that was 2005?
Lord, that is a very, very interesting question. Actually, what people were wearing was probably in, what I was wearing was probably out. Remember, I'm a misfit. Flip the narrative, fuck it up. Do not take fashion too seriously. If you're able to purchase the garment and wear it with confidence and reality, you're doing a good job. Never, ever follow a trend. Set one, flip the narrative, and feel good about what you're wearing. Do you understand?
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. On that note, when am I getting some clothes? You need to send me stuff. Oh, wardrobe is like wearing thin here.
Actually, I haven't been doing much merchandising. However, I did pop out today, and the offerings are rather meager. There's just so much sportswear, sports apparel, jackets. There's not like groovy, things that jump out at you that you just want to snatch. We can work towards something. I did dress Ziza Muftik,
Okay.
the jazz singer. She was my
Oh, I
latest
love
victim.
Ziza.
Isn't she
Ah.
phenomenal?
Do you know that she
She
used to give
is
me vocal
phenomenal.
lessons?
She's
Yes,
actually, you
she's
know what she
really
does?
amazing.
That lady uses her vocals as an instrument or instruments of all kinds. She marries it beautifully. Yes, so I dressed up. Well, I chose some of my personal clothes, my personal wardrobe, which I sort of dressed her up in, you know, gave the face some bit of enhancements, made those lips very pretty and beautiful so she could actually sing proper. And then some
Nice. You
accessories.
must tell her I say hi when you next see her.
I will definitely.
Yeah.
These are. Oh, just by
Lovely.
the way,
So now, Aphiwe, pardon?
what are you wearing for your gig in Musenberg?
So there was this sequin situation that I really wanted to wear. But it's in
Are you?
Joburg.
Is it that one?
Yeah. Anyway, we'll speak about this like later. What I wanted to ask is, Aphiwe, did you have a Motorola or a Nokia phone back in 2005?
Definitely a Motorola.
And did you have special ringtones?
I did.
Who was your ringtone?
So I had Nora Jones, Those Sweet Words. That was my song. In fact, how I came to hear that song was it was remixed into a house song. And I was like, that sounds like a song that I've heard before. I just didn't know where it was from. Turns out it was a Nora song. So yeah, I ended up making it my ringtone. But my Motorola was actually like a hand down from my older sister. So but it was there. It was a phone
I think
anyway.
back then all of our phones were hand. Say again.
I'm saying, but it was a phone nonetheless.
Yeah, no. I think back then all of our phones were hand-me-downs. This thing of new phones and paying 30 odd grand for a phone, I don't get it. I don't get it.
Neither
I
do
mean,
I.
yes, the camera is great. It's got some cool functionality. It's nuts, eh? Cool functionality, which most of us can't even figure out. But we just wanted to have the latest phone because it's the latest phone. No. Anyway, coming back to you as people. So what is it that you're working on now that you're really excited about? I know you mentioned Shaka Ilembe Aphiwe. What other things are you working on at the moment, whether they're music related or not? Because I know that they're all in the creative realm.
Yeah. So I am currently working on a chapter. I can't say much about it. I'll be presenting at an academic conference happening at UCT. It's on television. As people should know that South African television will be celebrating 50 years next year. So the chapter will be looking at that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what I'm currently gearing towards. So people should keep an eye on that, and I'll definitely also be putting it up on my social media. But yeah, that's what I'm currently working towards. So trying to finalize that. Yeah, focusing on South African television.
Nice. So that means that you've been delving into the archives, I imagine. I can't wait. Like, I wish you could tell us what it is. I wish you could tell us what it is. I'm so nosy. I just want to know. But that must be fun, delving into the archives. I can't believe it's been 50 years of TV because it feels like it should be longer. But then with everything, South Africa lags behind and we only got TV back in 1976, right?
Yes.
So
But Faisal Day, were you where? Okay, so I'm going to rewind. Faisal Day, you have traveled extensively.
I have.
I know you left South Africa when you were like 20 something,
1980.
and
I've
you
had
went
enough.
off to
Greece.
and why did you leave and when did you come back?
I left the country in 1980. I was tired, and I also had a run-in with the Bureau of State Security back then, the Nazi regime, and they had me on file. I met them personally at another person on Grata's house, Jean Naidu, in Cape Town. I was working at the Space Theatre, and that was all illegal. And I gave them a piece of my mouth. I let them have it. I said to them, this shit's coming to an end. And then they said, I better shut up or I would disappear. And I was wise.
I'm so
And I
sorry
decided,
about that, guys. I don't know. Sorry. I'm not sure if you guys saw the same glitch that I was seeing, but my screen went blank. It was telling me that my connection was unstable. So I'm not sure if you experienced the same thing.
no, not really.
No, I should have just kept my mouth shut then. Sorry, but Faisal, you were still saying you went off to Europe, right?
Yeah, I auditioned for some Greek extravaganza. I wasn't exactly a trained dancer, but I had rhythm. I auditioned at the Space Theatre. It was one of the best theatres, I think, in South Africa or in the world. Athol Fugard, Fatima DK, Denise Newman, John Carney. Very, very amazing space. And I auditioned there and I landed the part. I was added to this extravaganza and flew out to Greece and then continued my journey from there for the next 2 decades.
Amazing. But now that is fucking awesome. And I mean, you've told me some stories of your times in Berlin and in Amsterdam and all these places, which I'm not going to get into right now. But coming back to the music, there is a music icon whom you used to impersonate. Please tell the people who that music icon is.
Is that unfortunately that icon is rather dead now. Bless his soul. One of the great ever on the planet. Yes, it was Michael Jackson. And he started chopping. And I looked like him and he started to look like me. And of course, with a bit of tweaking, makeup, costuming. I was who asked me if I would be interested in working as a double. I was freaked out because, really, it's Michael Jackson. And that's like mammoth.
So did you have the moves down?
I had to study with a group and a choreographer who studied under Alvin Ailey. So it was intense.
Rigorous. Can you imagine?
I wasn't
Can just
qualified.
imagine.
You're up against a group of Alvin Ailey dancers. Do you know what I'm saying?
That in itself is intimidating. I would just be like,
you have to also emulate and study Michael Jackson. It was intense, but it took me to many places. It was rather lucrative.
Can you do the moonwalk? Can you do the moonwalk?
I can, but not currently because I do have a bit of an injury.
I couldn't do it with or without any injury, so I'm quite impressed that you could even do it at any point in your life. Not a dancer. This one, not a dancer. No. I'm going to ask you a few questions because I like to play games. So, Aphiwe, I'm going to start with you. And my questions for you. You have to choose one or the other, right? It's called this or that. You have to choose one or the other. So, Playful Soul or Serious Soul?
That's a tough one. Serious.
Studio or stage?
Very popular to contrary belief, a studio.
Okay. Midnight snack or sunrise smoothie?
Sunrise smoothie.
Okay. Peanut butter or jam?
I hate jam, so peanut butter.
I feel like you took too long in answering those questions. So that's
Uh-huh.
not a good thing. But you say studio over stage. Why do you say that?
Because of the current climate that we're in with music. I'm always like disappointed. So I maybe live performances definitely for artists from back in the day, like your 90s artists, your 2000 artists. I think there was a very strong live element to the singing, and I think also they took the actual singing very seriously, and didn't rely a lot on the production. Where I think like with the new age musicians, there's a lot of production and less vocal production. Um, where like I think most of my recent live performances that I've gone to, I've just been like, I don't know what's happening.
Mm.
But traditionally, I would have I definitely love live music, but I just think, yeah, I don't know. Recently, I've just been disappointed a lot, so I'm just
Really? Oy, 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 that's not good. Faisal.
Yeah.
Like you're so ready. I'm not going to ask you the same questions. I just need to find
Yeah.
another bunch of questions. Oh
I'm
no, I
interested
can't
in
find them.
finding
Okay, hold
out.
on, hold on.
Wait, Pebbles.
Hey, hey.
I'm interested in finding out from Faisal what's his take on the studio versus live. And I mean, obviously, he said he spoke a lot about music from back in the day. So I'm really interested in his perspective.
I am kind of torn. I would lend myself to the studio. Studio.
Why?
You
Why?
know, like she mentioned, a live performance, if not curated properly, sound check instruments. Yeah, if you're looking really forward to one of your favorite artists. Actually, I saw what's the name? Uh, Jill Scott. And unfortunately, it was not exactly what I was anticipating. It was at the DSTV Food Festival. I actually was very
Oh,
disappointed. That
really?
was Miss Scott. Yes, girlfriend. It was okay. Okay enough for us to leave before she concluded her show. There we go.
Sure.
Sound was, and
That's
it was sad.
but I mean, I've seen her in the past and her stage performance was like incredible. Like I could watch her on stage and I could listen to her studio made albums and be like, ah no, she's the real deal. So I wonder what was happening there. Maybe she was just having a
Um,
bad day, guys. It
I don't know. I
happens.
think everyone was having a bad day. It was freezing cold, and the sound was messed
Mm.
up, despite the fact that they did have a sound check.
Oh
So
no.
I'd say, excuse me.
Studio. Okay.
Yes,
Studio.
yes.
Okay. Interesting.
Keep
Interesting.
keep
Aphiwe,
it.
you were nodding furiously about. Pardon?
I'm nodding.
Oh, I've lost you. No, I'm saying Aphiwe was nodding when you were speaking
Oh,
about how bad the sound was and how not as impressive as she usually is. Jill Scott was at that DSTV Delicious. Is that because you were there, Aphiwe?
For like 2 seconds. It was for me. It was the sound. It was this. I'm always at places for 2 seconds. Pebbles knows this now by now.
you were
Um, I was.
Oh,
Um,
for 2 seconds. Was it
yeah,
freezing?
it
There you
was.
go.
It was because of the weather. The weather was so horrible. It was so horrible. I was just like, yeah, it's because I really wanted to see Jill. I'd never had the opportunity of seeing. In fact, the reason why I'm saying studio and not live is because of that performance as well. So for me, it wasn't
Oh
necessarily,
wow.
it wasn't the performance. It was just as Faisal was saying, the sound was just we barely could hear. And yeah, I don't know what was happening. And I think again, most organizers are not really paying attention to actually having good sound. We
Thank
seem to have a very big crisis with sound.
I hope that people see this and take note. There is nothing worse for a performer or even for the audience who have come to experience a live music show than to have, there's nothing worse than having bad sound. And people, you're right, people take it for granted. Like a person will be like, oh, come sing at my whatnot. And you're like, okay, do you have backline? What kind of speakers do you have? What kind of, and then they'll be like, no, I've just got one of those plug-in, and you'll be like, no.
Bye. Thank you.
Do you have budget to hire that stuff in? Then we can hire it. But you can't expect me to just get up and no. Whew, it's so disrespectful. And I do hope, especially when event organizers have the budget to invest the money into decent sound, knowing how many people are going to be supporting it, knowing that you've flown artists in from all over the world, and I mean, even the South African artists, we need to have that respect that the sound be proper. I don't think it's a lot to ask for.
I agree.
That's just my take. But anyway, after my rant, I do have a few. Thank you, Faisal. So after my rant, I would like to play the same this or that game with you, Faiz. So I'm going to ask you a few questions, okay? And you have to say one or the other. And you can't take as long to think about them as Aphiwe did. Please, assemblance. So the first one is vinyl or streaming?
Oh, you know what? For convenience sake, vinyl. No, oops, streaming.
Verse or hook first? So verse or chorus first?
Oh, why are you doing this? Hook.
Analog or digital?
Analog.
Heels or flats?
Flats.
Write in silence or write with music playing?
With music playing.
Okay, last one. Sequins or flowers?
Oh, now that's sequence. I can find flowers. Sequence.
Oh, yeah. I also love sequins. Like, there's something about shiny things. This is something I just love. I love shiny,
Flowers
glittery, bright
build
things.
and die. Sequence come alive when the light comes. Oops.
But now, why did you say, okay, firstly, you said vinyl over streaming, and then you changed it to streaming over vinyl. Why is that?
I'm about convenience. Vinyl, you need the accoutrement, you need the tables, you need the needles, and we're living in like great technology. I mean, the technology is fabulous now, so why not go back? It's convenience.
Got you. Okay, fair enough. Bringing it back to Playful Soul. So now that we are in 2024, right? Yeah, 2025. What would you say the relevance of an album like Playful Soul is to you today? Starting with you, Faze.
Oh, the relevance of an album.
Yeah,
Playful
that was
Soul.
released 20 years ago.
Uh, I'm a bit tongue-tied. Maybe you should ask Aphiwe first.
Okay,
Yes.
Aphiwe. What is the relevance of an album like Playful Soul today?
I think for archival purposes, one, and history and the legacy of music in the country, I think the album represents the sound from back then. It represents the genius from back then. I think what makes it relevant is also to showcase the potential and the possibilities of the sound that we can create as a nation. I think, as you said earlier on, we've kind of gone so commercial to the point where music doesn't have unique DNA and unique identity. And I think when you look back in the early 2000s, even if you had a Gloria Bosman and Esimpiwe Dana who produced two brilliant jazz albums, the other one coming out in 1999 and the other one coming out in 2004, just the DNA of it's the same genre, but just the presentation and the production of it is so different. So I think the relevance of that project for me, it represents possibility, it represents talent, it represents genius, it represents students of the industry. Because I think also when you think about how the album is crafted, it borrows from different elements, from the writing. I think one of the things that has always stood out for me in music is your writing, and you write in such a very non-conventional way. And for me, I've always been interested about like because you write full sentences. Like these are you don't just write like staccato and just like little lines that are rhyming and rhyming. You write actual like full sentences and like you telling a story, but the ease that you've always had in telling the story, using the music to sort of almost hold space for whatever it is that you're singing, has always been for me one of the most genius things that have come out of that album. So I think that's the relevance for me. It represents talent.
Wow, thank you. That was, you said a lot. And I appreciate the fact that you love how I write. It's so funny because when you say that I write in full sentences, isn't that how everybody writes?
You'd be surprised. An art.
Like how do you write half a sentence and expect to get your point across? Like if I were to be like, so what is your, like, do you know what I mean? It's half a sentence. How are you gonna convey what you're trying to say?
We're filling in the blanks.
I don't get. So the song is then left up to interpretation.
Yes.
By filling in the blank. That's nuts. But thank you, because that is actually something that I pride myself on is songwriting. And I am not always the penman of the songs that I sing. I appreciate other people's writing. And if I find somebody who writes really well, I'll be like, yo, please come write for me. Or, oh, that song is so good. Please, may I? Do you know what I mean? So yeah, there's something to be said for a well-written song, which has just reminded me, guys. Okay, you saw it here first. I would like to do a show for, a broadcaster or maybe for YouTube, who knows, that is dedicated to songwriters, rather than the focus being on the people that sing the songs, can we just for a moment celebrate the songwriters? I have the
Amen.
format. It's called Hit Hunters, and it is soon to be a reality. With your help, because it's a long road ahead, and the idea has been there for a very long time. But in what you were saying, it's just brought to mind that this is something that we need to do. Let's celebrate songwriters because the role that they play. You know, sorry, I'm rattling on now. But you know that in other parts of the world, songwriting is a profession in and of itself. The people don't have to sing the song, they just write the songs and they sell the songs and they license the songs. Why can't we have something like that here? Because not everybody's a writer, not everybody's a singer, there are so many facets to the music business that we need to call attention to or draw attention to. And one of them for me is the songwriting. Oh, yeah, Hit Hunters. Heard it here first, right? Anyway, we can continue. Just had to get down my proof of concept before somebody steals it. You know how it is. Anyway, Feisal, I'm going to ask the question that I asked Aphiwe to you in a different way. If you look at the playlist of music that you're listening to today, how different is it from what you were listening to back in 2005?
We could take it even further back. However, having said that, the music, oh God, it's really sad. Lyrics, it's so watered down, like the soul of the song left the building. Do you know? It's all so commercialized.
So how is it different?
There's no romance. It's just a lot of music sounds the same, and it doesn't transport you back to a place in time where you could actually relate to a song and where you were at the time in your life and also what you were feeling. It's all so generic. All
right. So are you saying that there are no songs now that you're listening to? There are no recent songs that you're listening to. You're listening to old songs today. Is that what you're saying?
I still lean towards, old school. I mean, back then, like in the 80s, I think the 80s, as the 80s faded out and the 90s came into play, there was a lot of exposure, like musicians, singers, etc., etc. But the music started sounding differently. It got more vulgar, more ugly, more techno. The soul was lost.
The soul. Speaking of soul, and also because of the whole Michael Jackson thing, and we've lost the soul in music. Motown, I don't even know why I've gone there, but I'm going there. Motown was a thing in and of itself that revolutionized music as we know it, right? Yeah. If there was a Motown artist who stood out the most for you, who would it be, Divide?
Ooh, that's a very interesting question. Of course, Diana Ross. If there's a cure for this, Diana Ross, one of my favorites. There were many, many, many. Riri Franklin, Gladys Knight, all those divas, my flavors.
The list is endless. And Aphiwe, how about you?
So I think similar. I think Aretha, definitely Patti LaBelle. Who else? I think also there were a lot of bands, right? So there were a lot of groups as well. So we saw a lot of groups within the Motown era, which is such a brilliant thing to watch because I think I feel that Motown was almost like the university of music because by the time they would leave the groups, they would be so seasoned that they were so, because for me, when I hear, by the time Patti leaves the bells, as it were, you almost can like see the growth and just I don't know, like it's just still there. So I really think that era also primed and groomed a lot of musicians who not only sang in that area, but also listened or grew up listening to that music. So definitely, I think Motown. I mean, my dad has one of the biggest vinyl collection of the 60s, 70s, and 80s, and I grew up on that. I literally used to sit under his vinyl player. He had those big ones from back in the day. And I used to write my homework underneath there, and almost all those all the songs that I grew up listening to, when I would hear them sampled in music in the 90s, when your Tamias were sampling and your Deborah Cox and all of these different artists, it was just brilliant. Also, just you could see the synergy and also the way the eras transitioned. Because when we went from the 80s into the 90s, how they were able to still be innovative, but still almost pay homage to the greats, and take a little bit from that stock and add it into their music. And I feel like with contemporary music, I think Faisal was talking about it just in terms of the writing. And I wanted to jump in and say, even the fact that we don't even have, I don't know, this is like everyone talks about this, we don't even have bridges. Like, it's just verse, chorus, verse, and the song is done. And you're just like, oh, okay.
The
That's
song is
interesting.
incomplete without a bridge.
So I think, yeah, like I think for me, Motown played an important role in just priming the ear, priming how you sing and how you think about your voice. I think definitely
Wow.
as someone who sings now and again, um, I am always asking myself, how would they play around with the sound? And I think sonically, you also
Mm.
push yourself to the limits, and not play it safe. And maybe it is also because the internet age is kind of very tough, and people are a bit scared to like open up and bringing back like the full singing. And much has to be said also about like record labels and what they want, and like it's almost like this bubblegum factory where things have to be selling and be commercial. So it does kind of strip
Package.
away. I definitely think Motown played a very, very nice ingredient in our music from back then.
Absolutely. There are so many things that you said there that I want to touch on. One of them being, oh, you said so many things. So the record labels you spoke about, do you think that there's even still a place for the old school traditional record label when artists can literally just sign up to TuneCore, put their songs on there, release them digitally to all the digital platforms? There are tutorials for days on how to do things. There are workshops that one can attend. There are all these tools that we have available to us that I don't think were around back in the day of the record label. Do we need the record labels anymore is my question.
We do, because the reason why we have a problem is because we've removed record labels. For me, again, yes, of course, we can talk. The 90s and the 2000s were a very tricky time, especially for women and Black women. So, of course, there's that shady little world happening in terms of exploitation and people not, getting their royalties and all of that. But I think what record labels did was they were able to sell the music, they were able to push the music, they were able to break into different industries. And of course, when you have professionals who understand how market works, and now this obviously is for a record label that's really interested in seeing you grow as an artist. I'm not talking about people who are just interested in commercial margins. I'm really just talking about record labels that want to see you grow. Specifically when you look at the US and the 90s and the 2000s, because at that point I was pretty much conscious in terms of how music worked, so I can speak to some of that. I think there was intention. So already by the moment you signed, they've already kind of done the back ground research in terms of who they're going to
The
market you
groundwork.
for, who likes the sound, and how the sound has done on radio. And of course, we can talk about obviously the change within and the evolution within the music industry. I still think that record labels have a place in terms of grounding, in terms of really keeping the professional part of the musicianship. I think these days we lack a lot of that. So we have a lot of people who are great musicians, but I don't think they've done enough research. They've done enough also groundwork in terms of understanding where to place themselves. So you find yourself in a situation where you're a great musician, but then you paired up with a producer who doesn't know what to do with your voice, or you are paired up with someone who doesn't like your writing and probably wants you to take on a different route. And I think we see it even with some of the new artists. A case in point, one of the new girls from the States, Normani, who brilliant work. It's very R&B, which borrows from traditional R&B and like contemporary, adult contemporary with the pop. But again, because there was this such a big push and pull between her and her label, the actual project just fell flat. Like it just didn't do anything. And it's great music. And I think some of those case studies tell us that there is a place for record labels because the formula is there, right? There's a reason why your Deborah Coxes and your Tamias, your Destiny's Childs, they were doing so great. It wasn't just by chance. They had these big machines behind them.
There was a machine. There was a machine
right
behind them.
So I think we tend to, yes.
And oftentimes that machine, sorry.
Yeah, you can go.
No, go for it.
Yeah, I was just going to say.
No, I was going to say, and oftentimes, sorry, it's the lag. But I was going to say that the machine can take something or somebody who's not necessarily raw talent. It can be just a potential that is seen by the machine to make money. And it's like, okay, if we position this person like this and we license their music to these people and we do, I hear what you're saying. There is a place, but I have my reservations about record labels for my own personal reasons. I'm not going to get into today. That's a story for another day.
No, I mean, as I said, I think it's also not lost on me, right? Some of the very interesting things that happen behind the scenes. I think we know a lot of stories. I mean, especially here at home. I think South African music industry was one of the laziest music industry compared to global music spaces and global music landscapes. I think there's a lot of cutting of corners. I think we lack a lot of collaboration. There isn't a lot of innovation. In fact, most of the great music that has come out of this country is not even signed or is part of labels. And that tells you a lot about the kind of corporatization of music. And so that's why I'm saying it's a yes and no for me, that there is a place for it, but also at the same time, I do realize how it can be a very disastrous collaboration, especially if things are being dictated to you and you don't play much of a role in how your music looks and sounds.
And oftentimes when you're coming into the music industry, you're so green that you don't know necessarily what you want, or you don't know what you are allowed to push back on, or you know what I mean? There's a lot that one doesn't know. Or at least back then that was the case. I feel like now we have more access to that information, and we should be able to learn from the mistakes of people who have come before us, that to own your own publishing is something that you need to fight for. You know what I mean? It should be a given. It shouldn't be, oh, they're going to do this. Like there's a lot. And I think that's maybe a conversation for another day with maybe some other playmates who are in the publishing space or in record labels. Who knows? But geez, I can't believe that the time is already 20 past 8, guys, and I haven't made supper. But parting words. Oh, okay. So there's another feature that we do here on Playful Soulmates, even though this is only the third one. But it's a pebble toss. So you toss a pebble into a stream and it ripples out to the world and makes a change. If you were to think of a pebble toss, Feisal, or to share a pebble toss, what would your pebble toss be?
Be authentic, spread some love, and live your life according to your tunes.
Namaste. I love that. That's beautiful. Aphiwe, same question for you, my love.
I think, don't be afraid of your dreams.
Whoa, that was short and sweet and succinct. That is a beautiful one. Oh my gosh, guys. Okay, so as I mentioned before, you're both creatives in your own right. You have platforms where people can contact you, reach out to you for the work that you do, or if they just think that you're cool people that they want to hang out with. Faisal Day, where do we find you? What are your handles on TikTok and Facebook?
It is Faisal _ DE. Faisal D. Instagram and Facebook. I'm based in Linden 68, 4th Avenue, Linden, Garden on 4th, in Johannesburg.
And you will always come away with a Faisal Day find that you will wear. In fact, what I'm wearing today, I'm wearing the black dress that you gifted me. Oh, anyway,
Yeah,
whenever I'm wearing stuff, most of my wardrobe. Hey?
Sorry, what did you say? Repeat?
No, I was saying most of my wardrobe is Faisal Day finds, and a person will ask me, so where did you get it? And I'll be like, it's a Faisal Day find. So it's Faisal _DE on Facebook and on Instagram and on TikTok.
Yeah, same. Faisal D. Yeah.
So reach out, guys. Reach out if you're looking for some glorious threads. And then Aphiwe, where do we find you?
Yeah, before I talk about where you can find me, I want to say, I think as we were talking, I just realized like also Faisal is such a encyclopedia of old South Africa, and I think I'd be interested if you were to even write a book about your journey in terms of being transnational at that time, and almost I think I'm ever so interested in people who've lived different lives and always come back to South Africa. It was such an, I mean, you didn't talk much about it, you didn't get into it, but I was very fascinated by just your talks about, having lived abroad and worked within physical theater and now working in fashion, and just how those worlds collide. I think we don't hear a lot of those kind of stories, especially from back then. I think there's a lot of just scary stories, and I think there's also a little bit of gems here and there about people who were like transnational and who were taking on the world during a time that was quite very precarious. So yeah, something that just popped up as you were introducing yourself and talking about a little bit about your story. I'd love
Aphiwe. How long have I been telling you to write a book, Faisal?
A Beautiful Mess, it will be titled. Yeah, that is very, very interesting. I have traveled. However, it's an interesting world we live in now. And back then, there was a lot of people like myself who were like, fuck this. I'm not taking this shit. I'm out of here. And we will be back. It was, swimming upstream. And I'm still a fighter. And authentic. And like it is. Yeah, book. It's interesting. We'll give it some thought.
Please do.
I feel like if you and Aphiwe were to like hook up, have more chats, the book might, come together quickly.
I'll get in touch with him for something. I'll get in touch with him for something that I'm working on. I need to.
See, I love this. This is what I live for. Oh. Oy, oy.
Yeah. So folks can find me on Twitter. It's at Aphiwe Mame. It's literally my name on the screen. That's about it, actually. I mean, yeah, that's where I post most of my work anyway.
Twitter, you're on LinkedIn. I see articles every day. You're on Facebook. I see articles every day. But basically, across all the platforms, Aphiwe Mame is where people will find you. Yes. Lovely jubbly. Oh, is there anything else that you want to say before we call it a night and I go cook my supper?
Yes. Two things. I'm interested in, how did you feel when you completed working on this project? That's one. And then two, I wanted to check, did you know that actually there's someone who used the same beat for All My Life in 2008, an Australian rapper?
Whoa. Whoa. Okay. So firstly, how did I feel?
after
I
completing?
was super, super excited because the idea of completing an album, not something that I had thought I would do. I knew it was something I always wanted to do, but now I had it and it was like a physical thing. And I'd had a photo shoot, and then there were people who had done press for me and written a press release, and there was all of this stuff that had happened. I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. I didn't realize that that was only, for me, it was the end. It was like, I've done it. What I should have realized is that this was just the beginning. Now the work needs to start. I took for granted the fact that you've got to market yourself. You've got to be out there. You've got to be performing. You've got to be networking. There are so many things that you need to be doing. So I think I took it for granted, but at the time I was like really excited and really chuffed. And can I tell you what the turning point for me was, that I didn't push as hard as I could? I didn't win a SAMA. I was nominated in 2 categories. And I mean, how was I going to win against, who was I against? It was, I think it was Judith Sepuma. It was Sibongile Kumalo. It was, there were 2 other, but anyway, it was like heavyweights. I don't win. So what do? I sulk. And I say, no, I'm not doing this music thing anymore. And I went back to my day job until I don't know, another 5 years later, I was like, actually, I need to be making music. But anyway, that was the answer to your first question. The second question, I had no idea that there was another song with the same instrumental as All My Life. Who's the artist? I need to go and find it.
I'll send you a link. It's 360. It's called Understanding. Yeah, I can't remember now, but I remember I stumbled upon the song a long time ago. I just remembered today because I was listening to Playful Soul again. I was like, oh, actually, there's an artist.
Is it the whole thing? Because there is a sample. Because that means that Nyams gave it to more than one person.
But he's Australian.
Oops.
There's this other artist, I'm saying Nyambo, who wrote it, yeah, he must have given it to more than one person. Or they're the sample, that's why I was asking, is it exact? Because there's a sample in it that's possibly the same sample, but if you're saying it's exactly the same, then I need to be some investigation doing.
It sounds like it was it, because even the way it starts, in fact, I remember the first time I heard it, I was like, oh, that's Pebbles. And someone was like, no, that's 360. I was like, I think that is Pebbles. I know that
Interesting.
I'll send it.
Well, I'm going to find it and I'm going to add it to the Playful Soulmates playlist that we're putting together, because that's an interesting, who knew? Now we know. See, it's like I walk with walking encyclopedias. This is so freaking cool. I'm sure everybody just wants my life. Anyway, Feisal, what do you want to tell us before we go?
I want to ask you what happened to the other gig that you cancelled, or you do not want to go into detail?
No, I can go into detail. I have no scum. It was a gig at a place called the Blue Room, Cape Town. I saw it and I thought it was a really cool venue. I was going to play there last year, and they said, no, you have to audition. And I was like, not to be arrogant, but audition? Are you kidding me? Anyway, left it alone then. This year decided I really want to do these Playful Soul sessions. So, okay, let me, swallow my pride gig and, move on to the next one.
Yeah.
So anyway, I receive an email from the venue after I've reached out to them. They give me a questionnaire to fill out. I fill out the questionnaire. One of the questions is, how many gigs have you performed? 1 to 10 to 10 to whatever. And then I'm like, the last thing is 200 or more. So I tick 200 or more. I would think that is enough to tell you that I'm a seasoned artist. I have performed on stages. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And I've sent you links to my work and all of this stuff. And then, there's how many artists, how many musicians do you play with? Put all of that information in there. They give a date, and then I'm like, okay, cool. There are going to be other artists fine. I emailed back, so how does it work with payment? No response.
Uh-huh.
I say, did you receive my previous email? I was asking, how does it work with payment? No response. I happen to be in town where the venue is the one day. So I pop in and I'm like, ask for certain people. And I'm like, so I'm supposed to be playing here on such and such a date, but I'm trying to understand how it works. And the lady's like, no, there's no payment. Oh, okay.
What?
Interesting. I'm going to need to run this past my band, but fine. Because I'm thinking, okay, maybe we do it and we can get other gigs from it. I'm still considering. Then I go and I'm taking pictures of the space because I always like to have experienced the space before I perform there. And I'm busy taking pictures and a guy comes out and this lady tells me, no, this is the head honcho. I'm like, oh, so you're the big cheese. Okay, cool. And then he asked me a few questions, but it was just like, he was so dismissive. Because I was like, no, I've already been given a date. He's like, oh, you're dealing with so-and-so. I was like, yeah. He's like, oh, okay. No, then that's fine. And I was like trying to engage and very dismissive. That put me off. Then I go to my band asking them, would they be willing to play this gig as a favor to me in the hope that we get more work? The first dude is like, yeah, Pebs, nah, sorry. The other dude is like, oh, only because it's you. However, these are the issues that I've had with this venue in the past. They don't pay, they give you excuses, they do. And then the other guy tells me, that I played a gig there in March and they still haven't paid me. I'm just like, okay. So we spoke about it and we decided, nah. We don't need to do this to ourselves. Yes, I've marketed the gig, but you know what? I would rather stand behind my band and say, let's take ourselves seriously. Let's get the respect that we deserve. Let's not be exploited by venues who think that we need exposure. Do you know what I mean? Anyway. Whew, that was a long answer to a very brief question. But yeah, that's why the gig was cancelled. However, there is a gig on Saturday at the Commons in Muizenberg. It's going to be so much fun. I've been rehearsing with my band. It's such a blast. I was even rehearsing before we came onto the live stream. I was like rushing to get here. But I'm having so much fun in rehearsals and I really do enjoy being on the stage. So this year, if I happen to be in a neck of the woods that you are, please pull through to the Playful Soul sessions. You will enjoy them thoroughly. There may be the odd new song, not just songs from Playful Soul. But guys, I cannot thank you enough for joining me on this episode of Playful Soulmates. You have been incredible soulmates. Really appreciate you, really love you. We will be engaging outside of this platform, I know for sure. But thank you so much for your time and for your beautiful energy and for being a part of this. I really appreciate you.
We thank you. Aphiwe, a pleasure meeting you. And we will cross paths.
Yeah. I'm going to cry because I'm so emotional.
Thanks, Pebs.
Hey?
No, I'm saying thanks.
Oh, yeah. So I'm just going to say thank you, guys. And to those of you who are tuning in, thank you for watching, firstly. There will be another episode in 2 weeks' time where I will be chatting to, obviously not going to tell you, you're just going to have to tune in and see or check out on the socials who it's going to be. It's going to be a goodie. Please do subscribe to my channel. Watch some of the other content that's on there. There's always some fun stuff. I'm going to be putting a playlist of the songs that were mentioned today into the Playful Soul, Playful Soulmates playlist. And thank you for tuning in. It has been real. Y'all are amazing. And I thank you. Good night.
Good night.
I'm pressing the buttons and nothing is happening. I don't know what I'm